Following the Iowa caucuses, the presidential campaigns were going forward. John Anderson, that liberal Republican congressman from Illinois, who had made a pretty big splash in the Iowa caucuses, but clearly was not going to be in the running to be selected at the Republican convention to run for president, went out on his own, said, I'm going to be an independent candidate. And he was such an engaging speaker that he was gaining some traction. Now, in my position as one of the administrative assistants to Governor Ray, I dealt with all of his state-federal relations, including going with him to the meeting of the National Governors Association, the winter meeting in Washington, D.C., and then the summer meeting, which each year would go from state to state. So in 1980, the NGA, National Governors Association, summer meeting was in Denver, Colorado, hosted by Governor Richard Lamb, the Democratic governor of that state, and who had been on the trip to Thailand and Cambodia with Governor Ray and me just the year before. And so as we got to Denver and at the meeting and in the Brown Hotel and in their large ballroom, and the way the governors meet is they have a long rectangular table and the governors all sit around the table, and their staffs then are arrayed behind them. And there's one chair, though, right behind the governor for the aide who is handling whatever issue is being discussed. So I would be in that chair or in that position, but we weren't right next to the governor. There was a walkway between us. So people would be walking around, going from governor to governor. The people would be coming and going, walking in front of me. So I'm sitting there, Governor Ray's at the table. The governors sit in the order of the admission to the union of their state. So right to the left of Governor Ray is Governor Jerry Brown of California. Young guy, young governor. He's governor again in 2019. But Jerry Brown is there, and his aide, named Gray Davis, was sitting kind of next to me, but back right behind the governor. So John Anderson, as a candidate for president, has been invited to come and address the national governors, and he accepts. So it's about 11:30, late morning. Anderson is introduced. He's there speaking to the governors. Everyone's paying attention to him. And in the middle of this, a man walks up. Now you have to understand, it's 1979. People just had like a badge with a little ribbon on it. Security wasn't too tight. This man walks up, he's got a badge with a ribbon on it, and he stops sort of right in front of me and starts screaming at Anderson. Suddenly I'm looking up, and then he reaches into his pocket. And I'm looking and saying, he's going to pull out a gun and shoot Anderson. Having been in Vietnam and combat, my instinct. And so as the photos that were taken, because the journalists were there suddenly turning, the TV cameras turn on him, clicking away, I come out of the chair and kind of hit the guy with my arms around him, my face into his shoulder, hopefully to knock the gun away, like a blitzing linebacker. At least that's my image of how quickly I moved and with such force. But I hit him and grab him as the governors, Jerry Brown and Governor Ray, are turning to look. Other aides are starting to come and deflect him. And you know, you have your 15 minutes of fame, and my photo hitting this man and stopping him, dramatically captured as his hand is up, appeared on the front page of every newspaper in America the next day, or almost every newspaper. In all of them, except for the Des Moines Register, the caption read, "Security aide subdues man attacking John Anderson." Now, the man reaching into his pocket didn't pull out a gun, though I thought at the time that's what he was going to do. He pulled out an egg, and his hand is up, about to throw the egg. I deflected the throw by hitting him, and it went over and hit another governor who actually I didn't care for too much, so was, I won't mention the name there. But then security people rushed up, grabbed the guy, took him out. We all sat back down. John Anderson finished his remarks, and we all went outside at the end, and I went down to the coffee shop to have lunch with other staff members of Governor Ray. But the aide to Jerry Brown went down to the press room and was interviewed on all the networks about how he had subdued the man attacking John Anderson, and was on the network news every show, what it was like, what he was doing. He had actually had a big briefing book on his lap and put it down, and then finally, as I was holding the guy, came up and grabbed him and said, "Hey, you," or something. So that man, that aide to Jerry Brown, was Gray Davis, later elected governor of California, whose step into public life began that day with those interviews on network news. If only I had had somebody suggest I go down there, who knows what might have happened for me. But anyway, it was an incredible moment, because when I hit him, I was certain he was going to come out with a gun and shoot Anderson. A couple of months later, Anderson ran for president, got some votes, Reagan's elected, but I wrote to him and shared the photo with him. And he wrote a note on it and sent it back to me. And he said, "To Ken Quinn, with thanks, one of the few times in my campaign I didn't get egg on my face." So it's hangs in my office, a treasure, a memento from this dangerous moment, from this 15 minutes of fame I had as security aide in all the newspapers. But in the Register, they said, "Governor Ray's aide, Ken Quinn, subdues man throwing egg at John Anderson." So it was an interesting moment, and what could have been a very scary and dangerous moment of reacting during a crisis when I thought somebody's life was in danger. A presidential candidate could be in danger of being assassinated.